The other thing you can do is just have an account where your bonuses go. And so you get these big boom, 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 boom bonuses just hitting the bucket there. But at the bottom, you had this steady trickle that is a much smaller amount. And so
Mm,
imagine the bucket kind of fills up with a bonus and then it starts to drain a little bit because of the monthly flows. And it fills up with the next bonus and starts to drain with the monthly flows. And so you can do that and then you can tune that monthly flow by increasing it a little bit or decreasing it a little bit. And if you get a super big bonus, then you could just chunk it down.
Welcome to the Physician Family Financial Advisors podcast, where physician moms and dads like you can turn today's worries about taxes and investing into all the money you need for retirement and college.
Hello, physician moms and dads. I'm Nate Reineke, certified financial planner and primary advisor.
And I am Ben Utley, certified financial planner and the service team leader here at Physician Family. Nate, I understand you just got back from a vacation. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So we went to Hawaii. First time. Me and my wife have been married 9 years. We've been talking about
Nice.
Hawaii for 9 years. But we didn't get the picturesque honeymoon type Hawaii. We went to the Disney resort.
Ooh,
Yeah.
mouth time.
Yeah. So we went with a bunch of family, and I was the only one who voted not to go to Disney. But I think I was wrong because with a 4 and 6-year-old, I don't know how much hiking volcanoes we could have done. You know, I maybe I've said this on the podcast before, but on vacation, my wife Brittany refers to me as Vacation Nate, which is
Oh,
like a little less tight on money and all about fun. And it's those times like laying on the beach and those, I just can't help but stress how important rest is and time
yeah.
away is. And, I've heard you say this more than I say this, but I was literally laying on the beach thinking you only get one life.
Mm,
And so I was thinking, what would I say to people about this experience? And the only thing I can come up with is work in some badass vacations into your budget
yeah.
because it's worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely worth it. Yeah. Combats compassion fatigue for those who experience it, get to press out a little bit of your tan if that's what you're up for. But I think
That's
more
right.
than anything is you make good memories with your kiddos.
Great
My
memory.
she gets vacation Nate. My kids call me vacation dad when I'm on vacation, and my wife, my middle name is Ben. It's not Benjamin. It's Ben. She calls me
Uh-huh.
Benjamin on
Uh-huh.
vacation, and I love it because usually when she does that, she musses my hair. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all good.
It must be a dad thing because I saw something the other day that made a similar joke, and I'm like, sometimes it just takes you taking a 6-hour plane ride to let loose and stop being so serious about everything, which I think I'm pretty good at, but maybe not with spending money.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just worth every penny. And if you budget ahead of time, you get there and I'd never have vacation hangover because the
yeah,
money's just there. It's saved up. And the whole time, because, my kids hear me talk about money. No, dad, we don't need to do that. That's a lot of money. And every time I go, yeah, but mom and I saved for this. But mom
yeah,
and I saved for this. And
yeah.
then Brittany would say, mom and dad saved for this for 2 years.
Oh
And you're
wow,
just like, well, and I'm like, I don't know if it's 2 years, but yeah, it's hitting it home and they got to get a lot of
nice.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it was
Good
great.
to save and okay to spend money. Those are the messages you're giving. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for some questions?
Not only yes, but yes.
Nice. Okay. So we have a urologist in Oklahoma
Okay.
and they said our retirement and college fund plan needs large monthly contributions to our taxable account and our 529s.
Hmm.
Large enough to where I don't believe we can afford to do it every single month, but
Hmm.
we might be able to do it if we used our quarterly distribution checks.
Sure.
How do we make sure we have enough money to pay our tax bill while also staying on track? So I answered this in real time. And so I'm going to give a little backstory. This is a family that makes plenty of money, but with some digging, you find a lot of it is really lumpy.
Yeah.
We call it lumpy cash flow, but quarterly, semi-annually, big bonus checks. And so the money manager of the house, sometimes they'll get their monthly paycheck with nothing else, and they think, I can't make this contribution. Um, and we talk about dollar cost averaging all the time, right?
Yeah.
And how great that is, and perfect strategy, all that. And then, but when I get together with them, I find out that because they can't do it perfect, they kind of don't do it at all.
Oh, let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah,
Shame on you.
yeah, and
Yeah,
maybe that's I mean, they do some, but the point is, if you have lumpy cash flow, contribute in a lumpy fashion.
yeah,
And for this family specifically, I mean, they're long-term members here, and my answer was show up to your annual progress check, and we'll calculate how much you need to catch up on with your lumpy cash flow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
there's another way to do it. You can let's imagine that you get a bonus check that's, I don't know, $120,000.
Hmm.
That's your bonus. And you're supposed to be saving, $10,000 a month, or let's say you're supposed to be saving $15,000 a month, right? You can squeeze by with five, okay?
Hmm.
And so you still have 10 left. You get that $120,000 bonus check. So you can program cash flows so that $10,000 a month goes out. You can do
Hmm.
that. The other thing you can do is just have an account where your bonuses go. And so you get these big boom, 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 boom bonuses just hitting the bucket there. But at the bottom, you had this steady trickle that is a much smaller amount. And so
Hmm.
imagine the bucket kind of fills up with a bonus and then it starts to drain a little bit because of the monthly flows. And it fills up with the next bonus and starts to drain with the monthly flows. And so you can do that. And then you can tune that monthly flow by increasing it a little bit or decreasing it a little bit. And if you get a super big bonus, then you could just chunk it down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely
Yeah.
what they should do. And I think part of this in the question is just nerves about taxes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, do an amount that's comfortable. Those are the exact words that I used. Do an
Yeah.
amount that is comfortable where you know you'll have
Yeah.
plenty for
Exactly.
taxes. And then when you have leftover money, do a bigger contribution then. But
Or when you get these bonuses, cut them in half. Take half and put it in your
that's right.
gonna invest account, and the other half put it in a tax account because it's gonna come pretty darn close to half if you're making that kind of money.
Yeah.
Just set it aside, and that way you got the means to pay it. But the contrary here is somebody gets that $120,000 bonus maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and if you don't put that money away, it's gonna wander off. I have a
Hmm.
saying, cash makes you stupid.
Hmm.
And that kind of cash makes you real stupid because it's like, oh, I can afford that. I can afford that. Oh, I'm going to buy that. And then boom, bonus gone. If you
Yeah.
get in the habit, if you get in the culture of savings, then you save. And
Yeah.
you don't have to make that big, huge decision 3 or 4 times a year when, the market drops and stares you in the face and makes you feel sad about it. Just try to get it to be, take that lumpy cash flow, put it in a little bucket and smooth that out over time so that you can stay on track.
Agreed. Okay. Next question is from a radiologist in Florida. They asked, can you sell?
Hello, Florida.
Yeah. They said, can you sell VT and buy AVGE? These are ticker symbols and avoid the wash sale rule. So
Mm.
let's start with Ben. What is the wash sale rule?
Well, Nate, the wash sale rule says that if you have a used jacket and it's dirty, you can't sell that jacket until you wash it.
Hmm.
Wait a minute. Oh, no, sorry. That's a whole different podcast. Yeah, wash sale rule has to do with tax loss harvesting or taking a capital loss. And essentially, if you sell something for a loss and you buy that same thing either what is it, 60 days?
It
60 days
is,
before?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
60 days before or 60 days after. Kyle, I apologize if you're hearing this that I don't have that. Kyle does all this stuff, so he's got it down. But basically, if you buy that same security either 60 days before or within 60 days after, then that loss is going to be disallowed. So it goes to waste. And so
Mhm.
what this listener is basically asking is if I sell the Vanguard Global Equity Index Fund, basically it's a world fund, and I buy this other world fund that's a different fund, am I going to run afoul of the wash sale rules? And the answer is no, because
Mhm.
wash sale says you can't buy the same thing or something that's really, 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 really similar.
Mhm.
But you can buy something that's kind of the same, that's not the same, right?
Mhm.
So, you know, um, if you sold Tesla and bought Rivian, or more likely you sold Rivian and bought Tesla,
Uh-huh.
then yeah, that'd be okay. Or if you sold the S&P 500 index and you bought the total stock market index, you could do that. Or if you sold, Vanguard total stock market index and you bought the XYZ total market index, you could do that. You know, but I
Mhm.
think you run the risk like if they're very similar. For example, if you bought the Vanguard tax exempt municipal bond index fund VTEAX, if you're sold that for a loss, because bonds have lost money recently, and you turned around and you bought, I believe it's VTEB, which is the ETF version of it, I would say that is super close to the same thing, to the point that I might be a little bit worried that if it came under scrutiny, the IRS would be like, no, you can't really have these losses.
Right. Yeah, and we admittedly didn't really know what AVGE is.
Yeah,
So
never heard of it
before this, we're like, well, let's look, and you just have
Yeah.
to look if they kind of pass that rule of being substantially the same. While you were talking, I actually looked this up so we didn't have to make a correction on the next podcast. This is what it says:
nice.
if you can't sell shares of stocks or other securities for a loss, and then buy substantially identical shares within 30 days before or after.
Yeah.
So kind of 30, kind of 60.
Substantially identical, and it's 30 days, not
Yep.
60. See, Kyle's got that all over me. 60 days end to end, 30 before and after. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So for this case, yes, but the bigger picture here is be careful with your tax loss harvesting.
Yes. As we air quotes, I mean Kyle is.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay. Next question is from a retired surgeon's adult son in Oregon. Yeah.
Retired surgeon, adult sons, brothers, nephews,
Yeah.
sister, once removed. Yeah, got it.
That's right. So they said, how would I move money from my UTMA to my Roth IRA?
Uh-huh.
I wish there was a creative way to do this, but you got to sell the money in the UTMA and move it to an IRA, a Roth IRA. And in order to do that, all the same rules apply, right? You have to have earned income in order to contribute to a Roth IRA. Very good idea, though, if you have earned income. It's a great place to put it.
Absolutely. Well, since he's an Oregon kid we're talking about here,
Mhm.
I would say just do it, because that's what Nike would say.
Nice.
Just do it. Just get that out of your UTMA, which is basically a taxable account. Once that quote unquote child reaches the age of majority, it's just a regular old taxable account.
Mhm.
And popping that in a Roth IRA where it can grow tax free forever, that's a good move.
Okay. Last question here. Pediatrician in Pennsylvania. We have an Iowa 529 for our child, but currently live in Pennsylvania. Should we move the 529 balance to the Pennsylvania 529? So before I get into the weeds on this, basically what this is referring to is, when you move, usually the way you would choose a 529 is really based on investments and fees. But the number one thing that most people do is, do I get a tax break in my state? So when you move states, a lot of times you will switch 529 so you can get that tax break. And so when doctors move states a lot, and when they move to this new state, they start looking into new 529s, and you can just open one right up, but then they want to clean up their accounts. They don't want 529 spread out all over the country.
Yeah.
So they say, hey, should I move it? And Pennsylvania 529 is really great, so it'd be nice to be able to move the Iowa money there. But the thing you need to check, and this is really unique to some 529s, which is when you take money out of 529 for anything other than college, you will pay a penalty. And you would think that every single 529 would not count this as a unqualified event, I guess, to transfer money from 529 to 529. But there are a handful of states that will trigger a penalty. It just so happens that Iowa is one of them.
Yeah.
So it's called the recapture tax. Yeah. And so let's see.
This is another one of those things where it just it seems really simple, and yet there's little gotchas around every corner. And it's so much of what we do. I mean, you hear these guys talking about it on the internet, and they got their little blogs and stuff like that. They blog about it as if everybody can do it. And in fact, everybody can do it. But it's these little catches
I know.
that give you pause about things.
That's what I was just sitting here thinking, like, do I remember any other states? And I don't. And it's strange, as an advisor, you think you're going to know all this stuff that other people don't know. And a lot of times people come in, they know a lot. They do. I mean, they've done their research, and at a high level, many doctors are well informed. Some not so much. That's okay too. But it's these red flags that go off in your head. The people who are doing it every day. Like you and I know there's a wash sale rule, but Kyle knows it's 30 days right off the bat. And it's those things that trigger in your head. You can look this stuff up, but you just got to be really careful. I would hate to see people pay penalties and when they've worked so hard to save for college, just because they're trying to do something as simple or as I don't know, what seems to be
Correct.
so
Is
easy.
trying to clean things up, right? You know,
Yeah, yeah,
I just want everything in a nice, neat file. But sometimes that's not the right thing to do. And a lot of times, quote unquote, financial advisors out there will help you consolidate things, but in the process, they make a bunch of money in a commission or, you know, a way to get fees or whatever. You know,
that's
sometimes
right.
they mess up backdoor Roth IRAs when they
That's
do rollovers.
Yep.
So, you know, in a lot of cases, it's best just leave things where they're at.
Yeah. It's funny because I talk to physicians all the time, and since we don't charge an assets under management fee, they'll ask me where I should move their 401k. And when Kyle's answer is leave it there, they're very
Mhm.
surprised.
Yeah.
You don't want me to do something fancy with this? It's like, no, you can't move it to an IRA, and your other 401k doesn't accept incoming rollovers, or your other 401k is not as good as your old one. The average advisor would say roll it into an IRA, and they may have never done a backdoor Roth conversion.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
folks, the year before last, we did 141 backdoor Roth conversions as part of the backdoor strategy. This year, we did 215 backdoor Roth. And so I can remember the first year that I did a backdoor Roth, like it was 2 offices ago, and it was before Kyle came on board. So this is over a decade ago. It took me like 6 months to figure it out. And now it takes Kyle, you know, like 3 to 6 days to get it done,
right.
right? So a little experience goes a long way in this area, particularly if you have a messy Form 8606, which is probably a matter for another show. And I think we're running out of time. So can I take
Yeah.
us out?
Yes, you can.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at home, you're on your drive time work, you are on your Peloton, you're running down the street from a bear if you're here in Oregon or perhaps Alaska. At any rate, you're listening to us. If you're not a client, you have a chance to be a client. Could be a much bigger deal than what you're experiencing right now. You'll get to hear our voices live answering your actual questions on your telephone. So check us out. Go to physicianfamily.com and you can see all of our pricing fully disclosed there, who we take, who we don't take. And if you're not ready for that, you should go to physicianfamily.com/quiz and take our retirement well check just to see kind of how you're doing. Take your pulse. So, thanks for listening. Until next time, you're not just making a living, you are making a life.
Thank you for listening to the Physician Family Financial Advisors podcast. Are you getting all the tax breaks you really deserve? To find out, get your copy of the Overtaxed Doctors Retirement Investing Checklist, available at physicianfamily.com/go. This show is for educational purposes only and is not personalized advice. Consult your tax advisor before taking action. All investments involve risk of loss. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Read show notes for full disclosure.